Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's ArcGIS Online webinar, which will look at some of the new functionalities that has recently been added to ArcGIS Online. During the presentation, all participants will be in listen-only mode. If you're experiencing technical difficulties during the WebEx session, there are details in your info tab on who to contact or email mathsmakesense@esri-ireland.ie, or use the chat box in the right-hand side of your screen. We are using audio broadcast for today's event. You may have noticed a small dialog box in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. This box must remain open to hear audio. It can be moved if it is obstructing your view. If you would like to chat to us, please use the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. To ask a question at any time, feel free to do so by using the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen. This will also be available through a floating toolbar, which will appear at the bottom right-hand side of your screen when we are in demo. Questions and answers will be addressed at the conclusion of today's presentation. The first part of our new featured webinar will look at the new spatial analysis tools in ArcGIS Online. These tools were previously in beta and are now a released feature in ArcGIS Online. You can access these tools through the map viewer, which we will demonstrate next. We will look at the spatial analysis tools in a sample spatial analysis map that we've created. This map contains 6 history data containing faults that have been reported in Ireland. For example, graffiti, leaks and drainage, illegal dumping and litter, and so on. We've also got some points that are locations if a fault is reported. A call-out will be located nearby to fix the fault. So we'll just work with these two layers for this presentation. You can access the spatial analysis tools by clicking on the little arrows that's beside each layer. The analysis tools will automatically pick up which layer that you want to perform the analysis of based on which arrow that you click on. So you can scroll down and go to Perform Analysis. And the analysis tools are broken into these tabs here. The first is Summarize Data, where you've got tools like Aggregate Points. For example, if you want to aggregate the number of faults that are reported in different boundaries, different locations, and summarize nearby, find out which faults have been reported nearby, or summarize within. There's also Find Locations. These are still in beta, but are coming soon. You'll be able to find existing locations or derive new locations. There's also Data Enrichment, which lets you enrich your data with microbarrow research data, which has a variety of different data services available from around the world. So you can just select your country and see what data is available. So we'll select Ireland for now. And we've got data like Irish Facts, which includes demographic data, like populations and number of households and so on. There's also facts on Irish spending, like consumption, amount spent on food and clothing. And the global facts. So what we'll do now, we'll just give a quick demonstration, and we'll base it off our call-out locations, which are these little sun icons here. So if we just click on this, we'll see that we haven't got that much information associated with it. We just have a call-out ID, and we have a location and a team for that call-out. So what we'll do is, we'd like to give this team more information about the area that they're working in. So we can scroll down here, we can click Ireland Facts, we can provide them with data within a 1 mile radius of their location, so we can give them some demographic data in this example. You can also change and use drive times, say 10-minute examples, and you can increase it to seconds, hours, but I'll just use 1 mile in this. And you can give it a name, And you can also just add data within this current extent that we're looking at here. So I'm just going to run analysis. This is just going to take a few moments to create a feature service with a new layer that contains this information plus all of the microbar research data as well. This data feature service can be reused again, and it can be added to different maps that you're working on. So as you can see, I've got a new point over my callout locations, so just green ones, and when I click on the new point, you can see that I've got all this additional data that has been added at a 1 mile buffer around each of the callout locations. For example, I now know that the total population within a 1 mile radius around each of the points is 22,851 around this locality. The total number of households that are around this area, population, purchasing power index, education, and so on. So as you can see, it's very powerful, and you have access to this data just by using this tool. So you can go back, and we'd like to perform some more analysis. So you can scroll back down to callout locations layer, go to perform analysis, and the next one we'll look at is analyze patterns. And so you can find hotspots in your data. For example, if we've got a lot of faults that you can see here, you can see where the hotspots are. So just to get information about this, this tool creates a map showing any statistical significant spatial clustering present in your data. You can use the tool to uncover unexpected hotspots or cold spots of high to low home values, for example, crime densities, traffic accident fatalities, unemployment, biodiversity, and so on, depending on what sort of data that you're working with. We can work down to use proximity tools. I'm just going to zoom in on the map. Just here again. So what we can do is we can create buffers, and what this will do is we can analyze whether these callout locations are actually in the right localities, or if they could be placed in better places to serve or to have better access to the different faults that are created. So let's go right. So you can just click on create buffers. Again, you can do distance or selected fields, but I want to find out and create a buffer at a 1 mile radius, a 2 mile radius, and 3 mile radius around each of my callout locations to see which faults are being collected at a different distances. So you can just run this. You've got different options like the different buffer types, for example, overlap, dissolve, rings or disks. You can also, as well as just working with this current extent, you can show the credits as well before you actually perform the analysis to see how many credits is being used in your account. So I can just click on this and I can see the total number of records I'm working off. It's 3. The credits required is 0.003. So it's not that many. So I can just click run analysis and it's just going to create buffers for me. So again, it's going to create a feature service that I can re-add and work off with in different web maps. This just takes a few moments. You can just scroll out to see, and you can see the 1 mile, this is in the right locality. You can also see that there's a cluster here, so there could be proposed a new location here too, or here, at a 2 or 3 mile radius, and to add more locations to them. Okay, so I'm going to move on and just show you some of the other tools. So you can create drive time areas and to create drive times for the actual drivers to find how many faults that they can actually serve over a given time, and find nearest, so the nearest call out location to fault. You can move down to manage data. You can do things like dissolving boundaries and finding areas that overlap or share a common boundary or merge together into a single area. You can also export data. So you can create a zip file or layer package of data from the layers, the area of interest that you specify. You can merge layers, so features from 2 or more existing layers into one layer, and overlay layers. So that just gives you a brief example of the different analysis tools that are available currently, and with more on the way. The next functionality we'll look at today is the improved imagery display in the map viewer. For a better default display of image service layers, map authors can now configure display, show tables, create filters, display or hide legends on ArcGIS for server 10.2 or later services, and configure pop-up windows. So we'll demonstrate this next. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an image service by going to add and add layer from the web. I'm going to scroll down. I've got an image service here, so I'm just going to copy this and add it to the map and add layer. This is just going to add, so at the moment if I click on it I don't get very much information from it. So now with the new tool, you can use the arrow beside the layer and you have access to all these available tools, like enabling pop-ups. So I'm going to enable a pop-up. I'm going to go down, configure my pop-up. So you can scroll down and select a field to pop up every time that you click on the image service. Maybe category. And you can also configure your attributes. So when you click on the map, you can decide which field actually displays. So you can turn them off depending on which ones you want to show. Click OK. You can also add pop-up media by clicking Add. You can add an image or a link to a website from an image. You can add a pie chart, a bar chart, column chart, line chart, and so on. So when you finish configuring your pop-up, you can save it. You can click on the map and see at this area on the image we have access to all of this information. As you can see, I'm going to go back here. You can also access the table to get all the information behind the image service just by clicking Show Table. You can go to Image Display and you can change the render. So you can use different bands for input to the red, green or blue channels, multi-band services only. And you can apply different radiometric enhancement algorithms to make your image look better. You can change the different band combinations and the stretch type. You can change the image display order to find scene lines and attributes and so on. and you can change the image quality. For example, if you put the quality as low, the image service will render very quickly, but the quality won't be that great on the map. Whereas if you increase the quality, the image rendering will be slower, but the quality will be better. You can also create a filter, so you can work down and you can scroll between any of the fields, see the different values that are greater or less than a certain amount, and you can apply a filter at any stage on the image. You can also remove this as well, just by clicking filter and remove filter. Okay, so we'll move on to the next feature, which will look at the different web applications that have been added and updated in ArcGIS Online. So first one we'll look at will be the new Swipe Story Map template, which is designed to work on any form factor, for example, browser, tablet, mobile device. The swipe allows you to vertically split two web maps or layer in one map. The new template also includes the option to use a spyglass to view the swiped layers or maps. So I'm just going to scroll to demonstrate this now. So what we've done here is we've configured this web application, which is the Storytime Flight. We've got two web maps. So we've got one that contains faults for your local area, which you can see, and one that contains the All-Ireland Deprivation Index. So we've just put this together to see if we can see any correlation between the different areas on the map in comparison to the demographics that are in that area, and see if there's any correlations between the different types of faults that are reported. So what you can do is you can just scroll over using your spyglass. We can see that there's a cluster of orange points here, which are litter and illegal dumping. And then you can simply just scroll over and click on the different areas to get some demographics about the area that you're hovering over. You can also switch to builder mode, and you can configure it so that you've got the option of the spyglass, but you also have the option of the swipe tool to swipe between the two maps. So I'll just demonstrate this now. It's as simple as going to your settings, and instead of using spyglass, you can decide to use a vertical bar. So you can just select this layer, click apply, and OK. I'm just going to save this and just refresh it so you can see it in the browser. As you can see there. Okay, so the next template that we will look at will be the popular map tour hosted story map template, that can now be set up and used in public and organisational account holders when adding tour locations from a comma-separated value CSV file. Or photos can be added from popular site locations like Flickr, Facebook, Picasa, and other hosted locations via URL. As in the past, organisational accounts with publisher or admin privileges were able to create hosted feature services and use ArcGIS Online to store map tour photos. There's also a downloadable and self-hosted version which is available, and the template also includes help and is easy enough to set up. So what I'm going to do in this demonstration is just show you this map tour that we've assembled using different scenic photos that have been collected by the Esri Island staff. So these are some cityscapes and scenic photos from across Ireland. So they've all been added, so you can initially scroll through this panel at the bottom to view the different photos, both on the map highlight as well as in this window here. You can just scroll in on the map and click on any of them also to view them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the process of adding photos. So again, I'm going to switch to builder mode. And for the first part, I'm going to add a photo. I'm going to click add. I'm going to enter the URL of the photo that I have. So I've got one here. I'm going to provide some information about my photo to appear in the pop-up window. This can be any amount of text that you'd like to include. I'm going to add the location, so I've got the coordinates of where this image is taken. And I'm going to add the tier points. So as you can see, it's been added like that. So you can scroll in and see where that image is. So it's just right on the tip of Gary's. Just right there. That's one way of adding photos one by one. But what you can also do is you can input them in a variety of different ways that we just mentioned. So you can access them if you've got a number of photos that you'd like to add in one time. So you can go to Flickr. You can enter your username and select from photo set that you have, or select a tag. You can go to Facebook. You can log in using your login details, and you can select a public album that you have and that you'd like to add to the map. You can also use the Casa, and you can add a reference CSV file by dragging and dropping it there. There is a downloadable CSV file template that will give you some steps on how to set up your CSV file to add the photos to the template that you can download there. You can also organize your photos depending on which ones that you'd like to show first in the template on the ribbon at the bottom. When you're finished, you just have to click save and click on view mode, and this will be saved back. So the next web application that we're going to look at is the City Engine. So just one second, I'm just going to refresh this. So it's the City Engine map viewer. The City Engine map viewer has been enhanced with streamlined map user interface controls, a full screen button, a better shadow resolution with cascaded shadow maps, which we'll demonstrate next. For more information on City Engine, you can go to Using City Engine Map Viewer on the ArcGIS Help page. City Engine is a 3D modelling application specialised in the generation of three-dimensional urban environments of detailed large-scale 3D city models. So we can just scroll through here. This is a proposed redevelopment for Philadelphia. So the first tab is our layers tab here. So you can just literally scroll through them to get different visible pictures of the scene that we're looking at. You can see redevelopment, what the proposed is, and what it is as built at the moment. We can scroll to streets to see what the streetscape is, the street furniture, where they're located, the trees, the ground, using the base map, right to left, and so on. You can also scroll to search if we were searching for a particular object or attribute, We can scroll to settings, so we can see what this actual web scene looks like at different times of the day, what the sunlight is over the buildings, just by scrolling through them. You can enter a time, and you can also select the seasons and adjust the shadowing, as you can see there. You can also view the web scene in full screen mode by clicking that button, and you can scroll between these different web scenes that have been configured, showing the highway, Logan Square, the new development street view, and new development bird view. Okay, so we're just going to move on to the next part of our presentation. Which will look at the new enhancements to enterprise logins. With this option that was previously in beta, administrators can invite users with an enterprise login account to the organisation. ArcGIS Online populates the full name and the email address of the user account with the values received from the identity provider. So we're just going to scroll and just demonstrate this. So we can go to My Organisation, we can go to Edit Settings, scroll down to Security, and scroll down to Enterprise Login. So you can set up your organisation so that users will be able to sign in to ArcGIS using the same username and password that they use with their existing on-premise systems. And the key to this is through a technology known as Identity Federation, and that this section will help you set up through two actions: setting your identity provider and getting your service provider. So you can set that up. While we're on this page, I might just mention that it's also important for each organisation to tick the anonymous access tick box here. What this actually does is when different users come to your organisation homepage, for example, this is edgeyourireland.maps@arcgis.com, they will see your homepage configuration, and they'll be able to see your homepage gallery that you have set and made public. So otherwise, if this isn't ticked, they'll just be prompted with a login page. So it just opens up your homepage to different users. So just I'm going to save this. The next part of the demo we will look at will be the enhancements that have been made to directions and routing in ArcGIS Online in the map viewer. So I'm just going to demonstrate this now. Okay. So the first thing we can do is we can click on a point, and we'd like to create a route, for example, from the callout location to a particular fault location. So I'm just going to click on the point, and we can get directions over here on the left hand side. So we can enter in an area here. So I might just put in and get directions. So this is telling me that it's a 4-minute journey from the call-out location to this area in Dublin. What you can do then is, when you create a route, you can actually add it as a layer in your table of contents, so that you can actually work with this routing layer again, and you can perform analysis with it, like creating buffers and finding nearest. So you can do it that way. What you can also do is you can go over to the search tab here for an address and search for an address directly in this tab. And it will find it. But what we'll also do now is it will give me other options. So it will ask me, is this the locality I was actually looking for? So I can click it and see what other areas that might be closer to where I'm actually looking for on the map. So I can click on either of them and you can decide which one to work with to find your best results. What you can also do is you can, when you're embedding this map in your website, you can restrict that people can only search for addresses within this extent. So this is done here when you click share. And you can embed in your website. So you can click the show location search, and you have the option to use the current map extent for your location search when you're actually embedding this in your website. For more information, you can search for getting directions, adding a route layer, or embedding maps, web maps in ArcGIS Help. The next feature we will demonstrate is how to add a Map Genie token to a web map, how to add your Map Genie base map to ArcGIS Online. So we will look at this next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Add and Add Layer from Web. From here I'm going to access, I've got a URL. So I've got OSI base map, Map Genie Street. So I'm just going to copy this URL. I'm just going to input it into this field and use as base map and add layer. What will happen now is I'll be prompted for a username and password, and I won't be able to add or view the OSI base map on this web map right now. So what I can actually do is I can cancel this, can go back, and I can edit my URL to include my token that I've received from the OSI. So I've got my URL here, but what I've also added is a question mark token equals, and I've added the OSI token that I've received for my organization here. So question mark token equals the token ID. I can copy the entire URL so add from layer from web, use as base map and add layer, and the OSI base map has added, as you can see. So I can scroll and do this for a number of them, depending on which base maps that you're using. So I've got the same for this discovery base map again. Add layer from web, use as base map and add the layer. So the next part of this webinar will look at the additional new features that have been added to ArcGIS Online. These new features include usability improvements, more options to the user profile, enhanced search options, new A to Z style symbols, new security options to use only in standard SQL queries, face map updates, geocoding enhancements, expanded worldwide routing, and enhancements to the status page. We will present some of these next. So, ArcGIS Online has undergone design changes to incorporate usability improvements. Throughout the site, you'll find changes that have been implemented based upon user feedback and usability testing. An example of this is that many options that were formerly placed along the top of the map are now organized under the Home tool in the map viewer. For example, from here you can access your home, you can access your gallery, your different groups, your content, and your My Organization. So we're just going to click to My Organization, and I'll show you the different options that a user now has to edit their user profile. So I can click over here, and I can scroll down to My Profile. From here I can click Edit My Profile, and I can scroll down, and a user can now edit their username, but also can edit their password as well. And I'll click Save. The next one we will look at is to show you the different search options that have been improved. So I'm just after entering a group for ArcGIS Online New Features webinar for today, and I can also show ArcGIS desktop content as well as all the content that has been added to ArcGIS Online. The next one we will look at is that there are new A to Z symbols in the symbol gallery in Change Symbols. These are available in 3 colours. So you can click on this arrow beside below. You can go to Change Symbols. You can click on each one, change symbol, scroll down using the drop down arrow, A to Z, and you can see there's A to Z in 3 different colours. Go to My Organization. Again, you can click Edit Settings and go down to Security, and this is where you can click to allow only standard SQL queries. And for more information on this, you can go to Configuring Security Settings in ArcGIS Help for more information on any of the security settings that you can see here in the Edit Settings window. So going back to here, the geocoding enhancements have been that geocoding quality has been improved for more than 15 countries, including Malaysia and Turkey. For more information on this, see service coverage in ArcGIS Help. There is also expanded worldwide routing. Routing is now available for South Korea and 41 other new countries, for a total coverage of 144 countries worldwide. For more information on this, you can go to Data Coverage for Network Analysis Services. Another one is that there's also been enhancements to the status page, and the status has been enhanced to improve reporting the usage of services and consumption of credits. The organization subscription page is now divided into 4 sections, which we can look at next. So I'm just in my organization again, and I'll go to View Status. And this status page is now broken up into storage, into analytics and usage, for example geocoding and geo-enrichment, premium content usage, and published content usage. Gives you units and credits, as you can see. The next part of this webinar will look at Esri Maps for Office, which is now being updated to version 2.1. So we'll just go through some new features that have been added. For example, statistical hotspots, cold spot analysis, access to additional data collections for data enrichment, the ability to select individual variables for data enrichment, new infographics options, and support for portals for ArcGIS. So what I'm going to do next is just give you a simple run-through of Esri Maps for Office. So I'm going to click Escape and just go to this table here. So what I've actually done is I've got this table containing all of the false data that we have seen earlier. And this has got information in different fields like title, description, category, and category title of the different faults. But I've also got coordinates for each fault, long values. So I'm going to use these fields to add them to the map. So I've done this already. I've created a web map, and so if you click on any of these points, you'll see the information from that record, which is this one here, but it will be in the map here. I've also gone over and I've changed the name of the layer, and I've categorized all the different faults by color to make it easy to interpret what these actually are and where they're located in my map. This is all locally in Excel. The only thing I've done is I've signed in to my ArcGIS Online account, which has given me access to Esri Maps for Office. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the table once more, just to show you how it's done. So how to do this is you can click Add Excel Data. You can select latitude, longitude because I've got both of those fields. Next, select the fields, X and Y, and Add. You can see this process on the right hand side of the screen. So I've got 103 faults. So these have all been added to the map. So I'm just going to untick the one I've previously created. I'm going to go to this table. I'm going to give it a name. And I'm going to style it, group it, based on the category title field. This can be done by going to Style, going to Grouping, deciding that you want to group your data, and deciding what field that you'd like to group it by, for example, category title. You can then go and change the different symbols simply by clicking on the different arrows for each one. You can change the size just by using the scroll bar and click OK. You can then do the same and click on each of the icons, and as you can see we've got all the information about them, the same as the previous layer. From here you can scroll up the ribbon, and you can search, so you can add additional information to this web map. So this concludes today's webinar. So we can now look at the different questions that have been asked throughout the webinar. Okay, so the first one we'll look at will be what do credits refer to. So when you sign up for your ArcGIS Online organisation account, you have access, depending on what level plan that you signed up for, you've got access to a different number of credits. So everything you do in ArcGIS Online uses different credits. The different tools that you use have different credit consumption. So things like storing data and creating web maps, different feature services, do not use a lot of credit. So it just depends on what you'd like to do. Some of the more credit-intensive tools would be the different types of analysis tools that I demonstrated there, based on the amount of processing that I have to do for each one. So there's a credit calculator online that we could forward on afterwards, which will help you kind of estimate the different credits that are used for different tools. But in general, to create a number of different web maps and different feature services does not use that many credits. So we'll forward that on after the call and provide more information on credits for you. Okay. Yeah, we've got another question. Could you use Imagery and alter the bandwidth to show decay of forestry? For the imagery map that I've shown, it depends on how many bands that you have and the image service. For the one that I demonstrated, it's only got 3 bands, but if you did have one that had 4, you could just adjust the band combinations to show different analysis, like to show the decay of forestry, for example, if you have an infrared band. So that's all possible. It really just depends on the imagery that you're working with. Is the routing map used with AA route? The routing map works off NavTac services, so it wouldn't really be an AA route. So what I could do is I can send you some more information about routing and the different routing services that are actually being used in the background of ArcGIS Online to give you more information about that. But if you create a route, it'll be a feature service, so yeah, I can send you more information about that after this webinar. Okay, so I might just conclude it there, but we can put together some answers for each of the questions that were logged during the webinar. So thank you again for attending today's webinar. A recording of the webinar will be posted online after this event, and the link will be emailed to you. For all future events, please visit www.esri-ireland.ie/mapsmakesense, where any further questions can be sent to mapsmakesense@esri-ireland.com. When we look forward to welcoming you to another Esri Ireland event soon. So bye for now, and thanks again.